up, YouTube? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. So we started really committing to posting YouTube videos, and then life smacked us.
Smacked us.
It smacked us good. So a lot's changed.
We had a really rough summer. We had a lot of life changes. I'm pretty sure half our farm died.
Yep.
Pretty much. It's a terrible YouTube video.
No, it's really not. Like, you know, that's usually what it happens though. You know, you make this big move in the right direction, and then, you know, it's almost like it's testing whether or not, you know, you're gonna follow through. And, you know, YouTube is just one thing that got kind of tossed to the side in the list of priorities. And so, one, we're sorry, and two, we're making a new commitment. And so less grand, but we're just gonna do this thing, and whatever it looks like and whatever we can put out, we're gonna put out. We're gonna give you an update of where the property's at, where the farm's at, and then start putting videos out of the stuff that we're fixing and changing and getting geared up for spring. We're just believing for a turnaround in the farm. Yeah,
so let's go take a look at it. Alright, so we're actually down in our garden right now, which we just spent a significant amount of time cleaning out. Basically, this summer we had like a bunch of crazy transition in our life. We have had a bunch of big changes, and we dealt with just a whole lot of like sickness on our farm, and just kind of reprioritizing how we wanted to do things. But as it stands right now, we still have the 7 acres that we live on, and Jeremiah's mom lives on next door, and we kind of work on all of that together. We still have a pretty good sized goat herd, a big old dead garden, you can kind of see here. We're getting ready to overwinter this. We have no chickens. Our chickens all contracted a really bad respiratory disease, and at the advice of people really well versed in biosecurity, we decided to cull our entire flock. It was a really hard decision. So we're just completely without fowl right now. We have one random guinea that just kind of runs around and runs the place, I guess. And that's it. Oh, and we have our horses too. So horses, goats,
dogs,
dead garden, dogs, 2 dogs. We actually lost a few dogs to cars this summer. It was just a really rough summer. So we're kind of regrouping, making a plan, and cleaning up, because one thing that you deal with in farming is death. That's just kind of part of it, but it can be wildly discouraging. So I would say our farm is probably in the roughest shape that it's ever been in since we started.
Which is actually good, because it'll give us the ability to show you guys what it looks like from run down to cleaned up again.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that.
So the garden is getting ready to kind of rest for the next couple of months. You can still see we've got a couple things hanging around, weeds growing up. And what we are doing today is we're actually closing this in and allowing this little group of goats access to this garden to let them go ahead and clear it out. These are some of our females that are in with a couple of males being bred so we can have spring kids. You might recall this used to be where we kept our chickens. We don't have the chickens right now, like I said. This yard was completely overrun. It had weeds and plants that were up above my head, but we put the goats in here about 2 weeks ago, and they've got it completely cleared out, so they did a great job on that. We have another chicken coop in the back that's empty. Just a lot of trash that needs to be picked up, just because we just really have been in survival mode as far as keeping everything taken care of. We have not been working on projects. Jeremiah's been working out of town a lot, so I've been home with the kids. I've been doing a lot of traveling for ministry. I just got back from India last week, and for us, this has been really a season of recouping, kind of casting vision over what we want this to look like, what our goals are, and kind of regrouping on where we want to start. We've got a long list of ideas of things that we want to reset, that we want to do better. We're actually planning on getting some chickens again pretty soon. We're gonna start, it's November now, so we're gonna start maybe with like 10 or so for over the winter, and then we'll get all new chicks in the spring. But we're not gonna have a big flock again. We had, how many chickens did we have? Like
probably 120
or so whenever we ended up having to cull the whole flock, and we won't get that big again. We'll probably only have about 50. Just, I think it'll be easier to keep them healthy and to feed organic and that sort of thing with a smaller flock.
How's what the beard doing?
He looks good.
His hair's getting thicker again.
Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris.
So, as you can see, things are kind of a hot mess right now. We're about to do a major cleanup. We're going to go through our repurpose pile, consolidate down to what we actually want to use, haul a bunch of stuff off to the dump, burn what we can, and then we're going to get to work on repurposing both of these, what used to be chicken coops.
We have one coop here. Used to be a chicken coop. Over here we have what used to be chicken, like breeding pens, isolation pens. What we're actually gonna do is a little bit of a makeover, and this is gonna become our turkey house. And over here is actually gonna become our enclosure for ducks. That's gonna have some work. Now, back here behind Maya, all these trees you see, that's our property. It's not fenced in. That's kind of on the to-do list, is to get some fences going. Jeremiah was just talking about putting up a little bit of a temporary fence over here where our goats currently are, to let them kind of clear out the woods there and just give them a little more browse over the next couple of months. Back behind here, that's the 3 acres where our horses are. Now we have 5 horses on 3 acres. They're healthy, but it's just really expensive because we have to bring in lots of hay and feed them lots of grain to keep their body type up. We actually have a lot of land for sale down the street, 29 acres. It's all woods, it's really raw, and we have decided not to go that direction, instead to sell it. And as soon as that sells, we're hoping to get some pasture here closer to our house for our horses. Another immediate project that we have to do is to repair a greenhouse. It was kind of a cheap greenhouse to begin with. It was like $600 from Harbor Freight. We spent a couple $100 reinforcing it, like with a frame and kind of gravel foundation, all that stuff. But it has not withstood the winds very well. As you can see, all of the panels are missing out of the roof. We want to go ahead and repair this now when it's still pretty mild outside. We're having 50-degree days, instead of waiting until February when it's really, really cold, which is when I will actually start plants. So that's kind of on the list. That'll be a project we'll be doing here pretty soon. So that's where we are right now, November 2017. It doesn't look like a huge mess, but it's really about 5 steps behind where we were like in the spring. So it's a little discouraging for us to look at our farm right now and realize just the sheer amount of work that it's going to take to get it back to the place of production that we already have achieved. You know,
we went from like, what, 10 dozen eggs a day, 6 goats in milk, 10 babies.
A huge garden.
Huge garden.
Producing food.
I mean, and it's just like systematically one thing after another, something happened, disease, death. And so like we did get really discouraged, and that's another reason why we kind of stepped away from the YouTube thing, is just from discouragement. You know, we read this funny article called Homestead Burnout, but I mean, honestly, it was a real thing. It was, you know, we've been putting our hands to the plow for 4 years. And
if we were ever going to quit, it would have been this summer. Like, yeah. Hands down. It was really rough.
It was a lot of loss.
We had a really wet spring and summer. We had 5 baby goats die. Even though we were treating them for parasites and making sure we stayed on top of their medications, just one after another, they died. Just despite our best efforts. Our garden got really sick. All our tomato plants got blight, and I'd made the mistake of planting them all kind of close together. Wiped them all out. The chickens got the respiratory disease. We had to cull the entire flock. it was a lot of loss, tremendous amount.
But on the flip side of that, we've learned a lot. We've learned about, you know, we've made decisions to plant the garden differently. We've made decisions to pull the babies from the moms and keep them in a separate pasture that the parasite load stays down. You know, we've decided to keep a closed flock of chickens, and so there's not going to be any opportunity for the respiratory disease to be reintroduced. And so, you know, we just want to be encouraging to you guys. You know, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have things die. You know, our very dear dog Dakota was hit by a car because, you know, he's a Pyrenees and he just could not resist the urge to roam some.
Yeah. And
someone was, you know, speeding down the road probably 60 miles an hour and hit him one morning, and that just like that he was gone. But I mean, even through that loss and dealing with our kids and the tears and the missing of him, you know what I'm saying, we've got, you know, dogs given to us, and they're starting to fill that hole. So just keep going, keep trying, keep learning. Don't, you know what I'm saying, like, one thing about this is that, you know, you don't have to try the same thing again, you know, the same way. You can try it a different way. And so I'm excited to show you guys the videos that are to come, because we're pretty much changing everything from top to bottom.
Yeah. The
way that we've done things, the way that we've distributed food, the way that we've watered the chickens, how many chickens. I mean, just there's so much changing. And so just stay tuned. The Roots and Refuge farm is about to go through a major overhaul, and we're excited to share that with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. See you next time.